How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today I wanted to talk about just shifting your paradigm, shifting your viewpoint 30 or 40 years down the road, right, in your own life, right? 20 years down the road, right? What are you going to be doing then? Who are you going to be? What type of person do you want to be? I find this to be a great exercise in if you're making the decision to quit, right? If you're trying to figure out whether you want to quit now or whether you want to take this on down the road and not quit yet, quit in 6 months' time or a year's time or whatever, delay tactics, procrastination, to get you across that line. Just think about yourself a year, 2 years and 5 years, 10 years down the road from two different aspects, right? From one aspect, think about things from the perspective of you carrying on drinking and what you're going to be like then, what your life is going to be like then. Like I say, when I stopped drinking, most of my time I was trying to grasp on and hold on to what was already in my life, right? To hold on to what I already had and to stop losing a lot of the stuff that I was losing, from both a physical sense in the world around you. You're trying to, I was in a business, so I was trying to not lose customers. I was trying to keep the customers that I had and keep people happy. I was trying to not have to work too hard because, alcohol was taking its toll on me physically. And it was also taking its toll on me mentally, so I didn't want to work that hard mentally either. But I was at the same time trying to hold on to the things that I had. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, the second part of this is to also look at your future from the perspective of when you quit drinking alcohol. So you first of all look at it from 10 years down the road. So for me, that as you're holding on to things, you're trying to hold on to the status quo, that stuff is gradually slipping away from you. So what's that slippage going to look like in 10 years, right? 5 years' time. And the same thing, once I've stopped drinking alcohol, it's no longer about holding on to the status quo. It's about it's about growth. It's about trying to see what I can become and what is around the corner. And that's a great thing about trying to visualize your own future in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, to look at where you're going to be. Now, it's very difficult to do that. For me at the beginning, it was difficult for me to sort of see exactly where I would be in 5 years' time. I had an idea of where I wanted to be, and I can safely say that where I wanted to be, I've surpassed that, in so many different ways. More, not in the sense of the things that I've got, right? Material possessions, right? I've realized that those things are just fleeting. They don't mean much. But in the sense of what I know and who I am as a person, what I feel about myself and what I feel in my own levels of self-confidence, I didn't realize, because when you can only think with the same mind that that you've got at the time. So you can only sort of visualize yourself from the perspective of the person that you are now in the moment, right? It's very difficult to try and see yourself as being a different person when you can't think with that mind, if you understand what I mean. So anyway, this video here, right, is about trying to see yourself from the perspective of that growth and trying to see what you're going to be like in 10 years' time if you have that growth mindset. And from my perspective, I want to see myself as an 80-year-old, right? So I'm looking like 30 years down the road for 80, 40 years down the road for 90, 50 years down the road for 100. And that's the way I want to look at things now, I remember having a conversation with my brother there last year. He came over and he was saying to me, I asked him a question. I said, well, what do you reckon now? He said, Dad's gone and he's in his 80s and stuff like that. And to be honest, none of us thought that he'd reach his 83rd year, because he had a heart attack when he was 50. He'd had a lot of different things that were wrong with him and stuff. But I think he changed his lifestyle towards the end of his life and he extended his life a little bit. But anyway, we're having this other conversation about where, how many years we thought we'd live, and I said, 100. And Kieran says, I'm going for 120, so I says, so am I, I'm going to shift my target upwards, and it's a bit tongue in cheek, but, it's a different way of looking at things, that you can look at your life, that if you make changes in your life and the direction that you live, the amount of time that you live, the quantity of the time that you live is important, but also the quality of the time that you live is important, and it's down to you. You know, you can enhance and you can live longer, live a longer life, but you can also live a more quality life by making changes in yourself now, right? And those changes might be difficult to make in the beginning, but they're worthwhile, as I say. And once you make the changes, it's just a weird thing that your body adapts, your mind adapts, you know, and the changes become a part of who you are, you know. Exercise is a great instance of this, you know. It's very difficult to go from sedentary into starting an exercise program, but once you start it and you start on that path, then it gets easier and easier and easier, right? One of the people that got me over into going into the whole foods lifestyle, you know, just eating whole foods, plant-based, nothing coming out of an animal, was a guy called T. Colin Campbell. And this is a doctor who he comes from a farming background in the United States. His family raised cattle, and he ate meat until, I'm sure he was in his 40s or 50s. Anyway, through a series of different studies that he participated in, which I won't go through here, he decided that one of the best lifestyles around health-wise was to eat a whole foods, plant-based diet. So you get rid of all animal products, all meat, all dairy, anything that comes from an animal, you get out of your system, you get out of your life, right? You don't eat processed foods, right? So it's all based around whole foods. This guy's in his 80s now, in his mid-80s, and he's still touring around, and he still looks fit as a fiddle, you know, at 80. There's another guy called Esselstyn, I can't remember the first name, but he's the same type of person. I think he's in his 80s, he's still out cycling and stuff like that. And it's all down to that kind of mentality. You know, and another way of looking at this is retirement. I mean, I've always been brought up, and I suppose everyone in the Western society has been brought up with the idea that you get to 65 years of age and you retire, you know, and people say, oh, well, you know, you won't be able to retire when you're 65 now, you'll be retiring closer to when you're 70. And retirement to me is a horrible word, you know. It's like, I'm never going to retire, you know. I don't ever want to retire, and I never wanted to retire. If you work in a factory, then I can understand it. But, you know, working in a factory is a choice that you make, right? You know, if you want to work in a factory and you want to go home and watch television all night, then you can do that, and that's all you're going to amount to. You're going to work in a factory. If you work in a factory and you go home and study for something different, you can work in something different, right? You can do something different with your life. It all depends on what you do, right? You know, I'm a growth mindset person, right? I believe that what you're born with is just the starting blocks, right? What you get after that is, you know, that makes all the difference in your life, right? It's what you do and what you build on. And if you keep building on the skills that you've got, you start building, you get the momentum going, and it's like the snowball going down the hill, you know, you get more and more momentum and you achieve more and more in your life, you know. And, you know, like I say, for me, it's just, retirement is not an option. I don't want to retire until, you know, I fall down, and that's it. I can't do anymore, you know. But that's my life anyway. But, you know, it's just an idea, just to sort of look forward in your life 10, 20, 30 years with a growth mindset, right? With a mindset that, you know, age is just a number, and that you have got a lot to do with the quality of the life and what you're able to do when you get to a certain age. So, you know, just look at your own life and look at your own, from your own perspective, see what you want to do and how you can make that happen, right? Whether it is in 10 years' time or 20 years' time. And look at it when you're 85 or 95 and what type of a person you want to be. You know, I read about a guy in England called is it the tornado? Anyway, he's an Indian guy with a turban, and he ran his marathon. He was the oldest person in the world to run a marathon at over 100 he was, you know. So, brilliant. That's the way I want to look at life, you know. It's like, I'm not saying I'm going to run a marathon, but I want to be doing things that sort of challenge me when I get to that age. I don't think that you should be looking at life. I mean, you've obviously got certain amounts of things that you can't do anymore, right? Physically, you can't do certain things, right? I mean, I remember being able to jump off a a 10-foot wall when I was young and roll on the ground and get up and run off and stuff like that. If I tried to do that now, I don't think I'd get up for a week, you know, if I did get up again, you know. But, you know, so you've got obviously limitations physically to the things that you can do. But apart from that, I think mental limitations, you can find workarounds to things, you know. I don't have to jump off a 10-foot wall anymore. I get a ladder, you know. I can afford to go out and buy a ladder and fucking climb down off the wall, you know. So, yeah, just look at things from a different perspective and from a growth perspective, and see how that affects what you're doing now and what you're going to do in the future. So I hope you got something out of this video, bit of a rambly one, but until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take care of yourself, keep the alcohol out of your mouth. Go over to the website if you want to sign up for our quit drinking alcohol starter pack. It's absolutely free, a lot of videos and books and stuff like that in it. Leave your name and email address. Onwards and upwards. Take care. Bye now.